Welcome back to another episode of the Danny Beal Show. Today we had two special guests on this week. Obviously, we had Jake and Zach Agnos on previously, but this week we have the Norbys. Great conversation, obviously. They were both together, so it was obviously great to see them in person interact with each other. But Connor, obviously, just getting traded to the Marlins, cool experience. Got to talk to him a little bit about that. Got to talk to Ethan about his freshman year, obviously, and then looking forward to his sophomore year in 2025 with the Pirates. But great conversation. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the Danny Beal Show. Today we have another set of brothers, another very special guest, obviously. Two names and two guys that you know very, very well. Obviously, we had Jake and Zach Agnos on earlier in the fall, but this week we have second-round pick, 2021 AAC Player of the Year, 2021 All-American, all this stuff, 2024 Freshman All-American, future draft pick, brothers, you know them, you love them, Ethan and Connor Norby. Thanks for coming on, fellas.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys for taking the time, obviously. But I guess, obviously, Ethan, you're still in school, and we probably have a better grasp of what you're up to. But both of you guys, tell us what you've been up to lately. Obviously, you both are at home for the holidays, but how you guys been?
Been good. Just a lot of working out, and then too many video games probably. But honestly, not too much. A lot of football and stuff being watched.
Yeah, I'm sure. How are the Vikings and the Wild?
Man, you know how the Vikings are.
Well, hey, yeah. if you follow Connor on Twitter, you know he's a Minnesota truther. So all of the sports, it's literally an informational account and biased, of course.
I get a lot of hate, but I also get it. It's a great conversation starter.
Well, great. Hey, you get the replies you want. You start a conversation. There needs to be a dialogue about some of the stuff you're talking about.
And I love getting the heat from Coach G.
Yeah.
Well, because you know he loves to chirp you about it too. It's the best part.
Yeah, you know how Cliff is. He gets on me even three plus years out. He's on me.
You're gonna be married and having kids, and it's gonna be Uncle Cliff still giving you a hard time. You know that.
100%.
Ethan, how have you been? What have you been up to since? Obviously, you got home a little while ago, but what have you been up to? Obviously, with the fall and the outlook for the season, how has the fall been for you and the team?
For me personally, it's kind of started off a little slow. Just wasn't, in the right mindset. Then picked up at the end of the fall. As a team, I think we've grown a lot. I mean, you know how close we were as a team last year, how kind of just fluid everything was. With 31 new guys, I mean, it was definitely a lot of growing pains early on, but I think we started to get an idea of who we are as a team, and I'm hoping that we pick it right back up when we get back in January.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was going to hit on, but we might as well just get right into it. But like having that many new guys right away, going from your first experience in a team was all older guys. Guys that had been there, done that, like been in the program for a very long time, like bunch of fifth years, bunch of fourth year seniors, all this. And then you essentially, whether you like it or not, just get thrusted into, hey, you're an older guy now at 19 years old. And a bunch of guys that have been in college baseball, but not necessarily been in high-level college baseball, at least played. And so how has it been handling that many new guys and getting them acclimated to what we all know as a very interesting and quick culture change,
I mean, it's been definitely challenging. Like, I've had to step into, a role, obviously, I don't know if I was ready for, but I have to do it anyways, no matter what. But I think it's just getting out of my comfort zone for sure. Just having those similar conversations like we would have last year,
sure,
or like other older pitchers would have with me. Just having those conversations with the younger guys is probably the hardest thing. but
Yeah, no doubt,
trying to
no
teach
doubt.
them the right way to do things and showing that there is value in the little things
Yeah,
because thing does come around.
yeah, for sure. Well, flip it, I guess, Connor. Since the season's ended, and obviously the trade happens this year, you get up to the bigs and all that stuff. And since the season's ended, what exactly has been like your motto or plan, at least since you got back home? Have you been? Is it just been back to the grind, training? Did you take some time off? What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's pretty much back to the grind. I don't like taking too much time off, and
Yeah,
um, it's having this past year and having I've had both. I saw both success and where I need to improve. And especially at the end, I hit a tough stretch there at the end, but that's like you take all those pieces and all those things that you learned, both good and bad, take them with you to the off season, and um, you want to get in the cage right away. But I know for
yeah.
me, I needed to wait a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm back now hitting, but been back in the gym for a while. And,
Go
but
figure.
yeah, you're excited. You're excited for what's to come. It's been a complete whirlwind and change this offseason with all the stuff that's happened with our front office and meeting all these new people. But, I mean, it's an exciting time for sure at the same time for me and what's to come in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing I was going to ask later about is obviously the turnover and stuff with Skip being let go, obviously, but a new leaf being turned over with obviously Clayton McCullough being hired as the new manager. He was the former first base coach for the Dodgers and an ECU alum and was here for a long time. And a lot of people here know him, obviously. But have you gotten a chance to at least speak with him, get to know him a little bit? I know it's the off season; it's kind of a weird time, but have you gotten to talk to him at all?
Yeah, I've talked to him probably 3 or 4 times now, and he's been awesome so far. Obviously, like excited to get down to spring training and get around him every day, and but I'm excited for what he brings. Obviously, we have that ECU connection, and
Yeah.
Cliff was on Cliff was on it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, the whole staff, our entire staff, is brand new, so that's going to be the bigger change, I think. But so far, from everything I've heard and from what I've talked to him about, we're kind of on the same page. And but yeah, future's exciting.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I mean, obviously, we're all excited to see how not only you, but Ethan does in the spring and looking forward to seeing you guys compete. But as we do with most of these, I guess we'll just kind of start from the beginning. Obviously, all three of us kind of growing up in the same area of North Carolina. It's Western North Carolina. It's kind of the Piedmont. You guys were in Kernersville. I was in Winston-Salem, and 30 minutes from each other, not even. And as people that are listening to this probably don't know, it is a very competitive environment, very competitive county in general of just baseball players that are always going Division I, always making the pros and all that good stuff. Essentially, like, I guess the question is, what was it like growing up, not only as brothers, but one, so far apart in age, but two, constantly being in a competitive environment of, hey, it's baseball time, like strap it on because you're playing some dudes.
Good.
I'll go. Okay. Well, I guess it would be a little different for me because I feel like everyone kind of knew who I was growing up just because of him, obviously. But it was pretty. It didn't really start picking up till I was older, probably about 14, when I played with the baseball academy, and I mean I was playing some pretty decent guys, but it wasn't until I guess my junior year when I joined the Dirtbags where it was like, all
Hard
right.
rep. Yeah.
I mean, you play with the Dirtbags too. I mean, it's a pretty legit thing. Like,
Yeah, we all
you're
did.
best teams in the country, and that's actually where you really get good, honestly.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess it's the same kind of thing, like, at least with Connor, where it's like setting the precedent of like, all right, this is how you like handle it and this is how you go about it. And you can go through whether it was the Dirtbags, which we'll obviously talk about later with the ECU connections, or the, playing in the CPC, which is Central Piedmont Conference, which is, it's got some of the best teams in the state with, East Forsyth, West Forsyth, all these other guys. But with you, I guess even starting from a young age, like even in Little League, I guess was there like a set where it's like, all right, now is where I need to like learn how to play with the guys that I know that are just as good, if not better than me, to catch up, or whether it was Little League, middle school, high school. When was that moment, Connor, where it was like, all right, I need to get going. I need to get good at my craft right away.
I mean, I think everyone that's played at a Division I program at some point in growing up, they were the best player on
Absolutely.
the team, maybe even in the best area. And I didn't really hit a shock. So we moved from Minnesota to North Carolina right before I started high school. So what, you were 9?
8 or 9, yeah.
And that's when I figured like North Carolina was different. Like the baseball is different. Minnesota's a basketball, hockey state, whatever. But North Carolina, that's when I found out like I'm not who I was back then. And I think I really took a turn and just took that next step. I probably after my sophomore year, that spring season for sure. But yeah, you have to put in a lot. I had to put in a lot of hours and behind the scenes to just catch up to everybody, just because I wasn't used to you can play 10 months here,
Sure.
pretty much. So yeah, it was completely different.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that because obviously, like, yes, you guys did grow up in Minnesota. That's where the obviously fandom comes from. But Ethan was too young to even really recognize because you're still a kid and playing 9 sports and whatever it is. Like, you don't even really matter. But with you, right before high school, it's like, all right, I am bar none the best player in Minnesota. We're playing 3 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year, whatever it is, because of the weather and stuff. But when you get down here in the South, it's like everybody's good and it's always warm, so you're always playing. So it's like it's a great point by you where it's like you have to learn quick to be able to compete at a high level because it's little fish in a big pond again.
Yeah, it really was. And I saw it from him because when I came down here, like there was no team that I could get on at that point, and it was pretty much like we moved in the summer, and I didn't play all summer. I didn't play another game until that next spring for high school JV. And Ethan got on a team right away, and that's when I figured like they were playing every weekend in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota, you have like 8 scheduled tournaments, and then if you like make the state tournaments or qualify or whatever, like you
Sure.
play in those. But like Ethan was playing in like 20 tournaments over the summer, every weekend, and that's when I was like, okay, like this is
A little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, and the big difference I think for me was like I was playing Little League until I was 8. Like you play Little League until you're what, like 12?
Yeah, well, because Little League World Series, it's the goal here. I mean, you know what I mean? That is the pinnacle.
Like up north, like travel ball isn't really like a big thing. And then I moved here immediately, and I'm like travel ball is like the only thing people do.
Yeah,
it's very different. Like just going.
And up there, it's like and like for high school ball, like Legion is a big thing. And no offense, but like I don't think many guys are playing Legion, especially nowadays.
Yes, I totally agree.
Now with all the showcase teams out there,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
everybody's playing showcase of some capacity.
Yeah, no doubt. This episode is also brought to you by Tiebreakers. Tiebreakers is open every day at 11 a.m. and is the best place to watch your favorite sports while enjoying the best wings in town, as well as sandwiches, appetizers, cold beer, and more. Follow Tiebreakers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates. Tiebreakers is in Greenville at Bell's Fork on Greenville Boulevard and in downtown Winterville on Railroad Street. And obviously, I guess we'll just go in chronological order with this just because you guys are both same paths in every facet pretty much with where you are. Connor, when you were in high school, you had a great team, and I mean, I played against you guys, and it was star-studded. I mean, it was the Pack the Monk age of East Forsyth baseball, but I mean, it was like it was the gold standard, or at least in our area for baseball, and you were the leader of it. I mean, I played with Garrett Saylor and a couple other guys, and I didn't really know you at the time, obviously, until I saw you play, and I was like, yeah, he deserves to be going East Connor. He's a good player. But at least through that point, how was your recruiting? Like, did it start super young? Was it like when you were a freshman and people got eyes on you? Was it super late? Take us kind of through the process of it all through high school.
I mean, I think everyone now looking at what the recruiting is for college athletics now is I think everybody got recruited late at our time.
Yeah.
Feels like guys are getting offers and letters and
Middle school.
Committing, and some guys I've heard before they even played even in high school. So it's crazy what it is now. But I really didn't start picking up any interest until going into my junior summer. We were at World Wood Bat, which is the biggest tournament pretty much of the year at that point. And I played pretty well, and we had a good team. We made the playoffs. I'd been talking to Cliff and some other schools, and finally got a couple offers. But I really didn't have too much. And when I committed, I definitely didn't have a lot as compared to you or Sailor, I know at the time, and several others, including Ethan. When Cliff called, it was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, it was yes, sir. Kind of whatever you want, I'm coming. I guess when we were talking about the dirtbags earlier, it's whether we like it or not, it has been a pipeline for ECU. I remember, at least when I was playing with the dirtbags, it was almost like frowned upon to go to ECU because I remember like a year before we played for Andy Parton, who's the owner of the dirtbags, who does a great job. 70% of our roster was coming to East Carolina, and it's literally just dirtbags West. Like that's all it is. Like you're coming to play for East Carolina if you play for the dirtbags. But in your time especially, I mean, you had Thomas Francisco, you had RG, you had Sailor, and you once you committed. It's like that's a team where not only are you playing together with the dirtbags before you come, but you already know a lot of the guys that you're gonna suit it up with in college before you even get there. How important was that, at least when you started it, to get into college baseball, and especially initially as a freshman?
So I was where Ethan was playing before the dirtbags. I was with the batting academy in Greensboro, and I had a conversation and was like, I want to play for the dirtbags my last fall. I'd already talked to Trey and Andy, and I wanted to do that just because I knew Ryder was playing for them. I knew Franny and Sailor, and I was like, well, I got 3 teammates over here, and in the fall for showcase year last summer, it really doesn't mean too much.
Yeah, exactly right.
If your recruiting's over, pretty much at that point.
For sure.
So I joined them. Just like you said, you want to build those relationships and have it be a little bit easier going into freshman year. And obviously nobody knows what to expect at ECU your freshman year. But yeah, like that was an unbelievable opportunity, and I got to meet a lot of great people. But like that team, we only had 4 guys going to ECU compared to when Ethan played and when your class, like it felt like there was 10 plus on that
easily, which is it has grown just because of obviously how fluent we are with the dirtbags. I'm talking from coaches' perspectives and recruiting perspective, where I mean you're talking. I mean, yeah, you're probably spot on with the 10 guys. I mean, if it's not 10, it's damn close, So it's like it's a pipeline for sure. But at least
I think my sophomore year at school, I counted and I was like, we have like 24 guys that played for the dirtbags here
on the roster, on the floor, man.
Yeah,
nuts. Was there before you got recruited? Was there ever? I guess not before, but during the recruiting process, and especially towards the summer of your last year, was there ever a draft possibility? Or was it always, I'm going to school no matter what, even if I do get picked up, even if I don't even have a shot to get picked up, I'm going to school?
I mean, everyone's kind of got a chance when if you did right like that, I guess. Mm-hmm. For me, I was going to school. There was no question.
Yeah.
I was dead set on going, and that's all I wanted to do, and that's all I was focused on.
Yeah, good. Well, that's because we had Gavin on a while ago, and that was the same kind of thing with him. I was like, was there? So what?
He's a little different. He threw 100.
It was a little, but he said the same kind of thing you did, though. It was like, obviously, he had more of a chance because he was 9 feet tall and threw 100 at 18 years old. But he was like, there was never a doubt. I was always going to school. It never even like crossed his mind that. Like he was saying how Coach Godwin like called him and he's like, I'm coming. It doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't matter what I get, who I get drafted by, I'm coming, which isn't always how it is, especially nowadays. But it's one of those things where, especially with the NIL and the portal and all this stuff, like it's few and far between where guys stay at one school for 4 years, nonetheless even go in the first place when they are offered a certain amount of money. So it's special to hear and see that kind of stuff. But at least when you got to school, your first couple of years were rocky. if
That,
to say the least.
that's a nice word to
Yeah.
say.
Well, you get there in
It,
the fall 18 and the spring of
I,
19, and obviously with COVID. But take us through those first couple of years.
I mean, Ethan's also got more maturity at his age than I did, for
Trust
sure.
me, if you ask Coach Godwin, he'll tell you the same thing.
Everyone's heard stories, but yeah, freshman year was rocky to say the least, and that like I needed it, and it's funny because you look back at all your freshman year, your sophomore year, whatever, and where you came from, and it's like I really was at the bottom of the totem pole, and it got to like my freshman year, we only had like 20. I think we could only fill 27 healthy guys by the end of it. Like we were razor thin, and I remember in the conference tournament, he's like, I literally cannot bench you and send you home because we have nobody else. Otherwise I would right now. And but like even during that freshman year, like especially at the beginning of this spring, I literally I wanted to go. I didn't want to be there anymore. And
Absolutely.
It was tough, and like it's just funny how it all transpired and what happens after. But I thought I was pretty much leaving. I was texting my buddies that were at different schools, like, "Hey, would you guys take me? Like, would you coach?" And some like they were like, "Yeah, like of course," but don't you don't need to do that. You need to stay there. And so I had some.
You're like, nah, dude, I'm coming.
That's how I was at the time. Yeah, I was done with it, and then Cliff pulled me, and Cliff pulled me in his hotel in Cincinnati. It was near the end of the season, and I was playing a little bit more. I was playing a little bit better, starting to figure it out. And he's like, "Are you transferring?" And I'm like, "No, me, no, what?" And he's like, "I need to know right now, otherwise I have to go get a second baseman next year." And I'm like, "No, I'm coming back." And I was like, I walked out of his room. I was like,
God,
"Well,
blood, dang
I
it."
But went to season ended in Louisville on my birthday, so that was a fun birthday present.
You did pay. If you've seen clips, he did pitch in that series.
I did pitch at
Former
once.
pitcher.
But so then I went to summer ball in Waynesboro and was with Bryson all summer, and I'm sure Cliff probably was a little bit worried about us two together, and
as anybody would be.
We grew pretty close, but we had a blast over the summer, and I really matured as a human and as a player, and summer ball was the best thing for me, and it got me some confidence back, and I came in from there on out with pretty much on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, well, especially after coming back from that first freshman summer, it's like, all right, now I've got my feet under me. I've had postseason baseball experience. Like I've played in college baseball games, all this stuff, and then COVID happens. But even up to that COVID point, like what was the first 12 games of that season necessarily? Like for you personally, obviously the team had stars all over with Burley and Gavin and stuff, but with you specifically, what was that? What were those 12 games like for confidence and going forward, even past the COVID season?
I started hot, and then we started fading off, and we played like Campbell. Obviously, UNCW did not how we never play well against those guys. Felt like, and then we were playing in the Clark LeClaire, played Indiana and then Ole Miss on back-to-back days, and I think over those 2 days I went like 0 for 7 with 6 Ks or something like that. I got taken out for someone to come in and bunt. At the time, so I was like,
yeah, that's never something you want to hear.
My spot was for sure. There was so many questions, and he had a meeting with me after the Ole Miss game. We lost 2-1, and he's like, "I don't know if I'm gonna play tomorrow." And we were playing High Point. I'm like, that was my shot, and I just didn't do anything. And then the next day we get in, and I'm playing, and I was like, well, I got nothing to lose at this point. Like, and then I think I had like 3 or 4 hits, and gain a little bit confidence, and confidence is everything, especially as an athlete, as a baseball player, as a young guy. And I played well those last 7 games, and then COVID hit and everything shut down. But Ethan can thank me for going through all the mess with CG, so he knows what not to do.
He has no idea how easy he has it, and everybody that is older that played pretty much 22 prior will tell you the same thing. It's just these kids have no idea. Anyway, hope you guys enjoying this episode. This episode is brought to you by Brandon Manning. From his days as a Pitt County Bulldog to his years at ECU, Brandon Manning bleeds purple and gold and anything local sports. Brandon was born and raised in Pitt County, and now, as your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in Winterville, Brandon can take care of you and your family with auto, home, life, and health insurance by calling him at 252-531-1812. Thanks to Brandon Manning for his support of the show, obviously. But again, you can reach him at 252-531-1812. Thanks, Brandon. But 2021, you come back after COVID, and you finally essentially put the whole puzzle together. I mean, you have so much success, whether it's the birdhouse or what would Kramer do, or just like the entire like season was just all like it was like watching somebody that had cheat codes to the game. It was crazy. I mean, it got to the point in the spring where we would start the game if you were hitting leadoff with a guy on second base. It was crazy. It was one of the, because obviously the stats prove it. The stats say what they are with how great you played and the All-American and all the awards you got, obviously, but like the pressure that you put on the other team right away is that enough. Not enough can be said about that. So going through that year, at least, what was it like? But I guess right around that time, Ethan, not to keep talking about Big Brother, but like, what was your recruitment like during that time too? Because I feel like that was when it started to pick up. I'm assuming right around your sophomore, junior, senior year. So during that time when Connor was playing his butt off, did you have like any ideas like, all right, since he's playing well, maybe I kind of want to be a Pirate?
I actually didn't want to be a Pirate.
I'm glad he's owning up to it.
He's being honest. That's what we like to
Not
hear.
want to be a Pirate. I was like, I did not want to, follow in the same footsteps he did. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm over.
Which I told him,
Don't close the door.
I said, don't close the door, but I also was telling him like he needs to
Do his own thing.
be his own. And I'm like, at the same time, we're also different. Like, you're a left-handed pitcher. I'm an infielder.
Yeah, well, that's also a good point. It's like two completely different players, but that's funny because Zach was always like, "Yeah, I'm going." Like that's where Jake went. I want to go. So it's interesting to have two different perspectives and two different kind of ideas of like, all right, well, Connor wants to do that. I'm going to go to X school and do just as good, if not better. But obviously,
only thing I told him was no Carolina.
Yeah.
He was.
I mean,
he wasn't listening. He wasn't listening for a while. Which I mean, fine.
it was enticing for sure.
I don't know, dude. Well, you grew up here. How is it not?
Every kid wants to. I mean, you want to go to Carolina or State, but once the Pirates like,
aren't you glad you ended up here?
After that first phone call with AK, it was sold.
There you go. Well, I guess
who's this goofball that I'm talking to?
Yeah, literally. Don't get me started. Well, at least from obviously Connor, your perspective, that year was being one of the best players in the country and knowing essentially the draft was imminent. What was kind of your thought process throughout the year, even from the beginning where, even from the start where it's like, all right, am I just hot or am I this good and going to be this good for the rest of the season? Like, especially towards the end too, when we're playing Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, like, did you have the same mindset throughout the entire year? Or was it kind of just riding the wave and it's like, all right, maybe I'm hot. Wait, no, I am this good.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. But it was with Gavin, obviously, scouts, there's tons of scouts coming to watch him. And for me going into the year, like my whole mentality was it doesn't matter. The draft means nothing if you don't play well.
That's true.
And I was like, for me also, Cliff talks about it all the time. Like when you focus on teams, as cliche as it is, when you focus on the team, your individual play gets kind of put aside and you're not as worried and it can kind of free you up a little bit. And for me, I think that's what it did. I wasn't worried about what my numbers said on the scoreboard. Obviously everybody wants to play well, but it was like, we need to win games. And for me, it was like, we looked at the team as a whole and I was like, why can't, like, we got a pretty good team right now. And, it was Omaha or bust for us. And for me, it was just easy to put the pressure on the team and going out every night and winning games. But my role pretty much went up quickly that season because I was in like the 5 or 6 hole and then me and Hoover, the whole incident with collided, and
right.
he was hitting leadoff, and then the next morning Cliff's like, you got a bat leadoff, and I'm like, oh boy, like.
I'm glad to know now that you said that, not back then, but yeah.
And I didn't know how long it was going to last. Obviously, we were hoping Hoof was going to come back pretty quickly, and with how tough of a kid he is, and which he did come back quicker.
It's crazy to think about. He wore that like whole face mask for like a week, and he's like, I'm not doing this. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, he hated that thing.
Oh, he hated it.
I was like, you cannot play if you don't wear it.
He's like, watch me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so like that game, we were playing Georgia Southern, and we ended up winning the series, played well, and then he just kept me there all year. And I mean, you were there that time, so like we were playing, like Charlotte was good they were really good, and we played Carolina, we played all these teams, and
everybody.
We rolled through conference, and I think by the end of the season, that's when obviously like you start having meetings, and like you're meeting with all these teams. It's like, okay, this is very real. And Cliff was like, yeah, you need to go if it's right. And but it was, for me, the whole year, it was I just want to get to Omaha. I want to be the one that I want my name on this team wall right here we were the team to do it.
Yeah, and it sucks that it didn't happen until still to this day. That is, in my book, my favorite team that I ever played with, just because of obviously the camaraderie of it all, but like with how much fun it was to have somebody that was on base every time and somebody on Friday that was, you didn't have a shot. Norby, you had, I don't want to shortchange Carter and Trey, but like it was pretty cool with Connor and Gavin where it's like, all right, this is awesome. Like it doesn't matter. But especially with that experience too, going in, obviously we get to the end of the season that year and we host a regional, win it, sweep it. And then we are staring down the barrel of an SEC team on the road with Kumar and Leiter. What was, I guess, your thought process like? I have heard this, but I want to hear it. You say it for everybody listening. But what was your thought process going into that game of like, all right, like it's the SEC and it's 2 top 5 picks. What were your thoughts going into that series?
I mean, we've watched a lot of college baseball. Me and Ryan,
right.
And also at that point, like you're on social media, so like these guys, every time they're pitching, they're on ESPN. They're doing something that no one's done since whoever. And so and we've watched Vanderbilt play a bunch of times that year. So I wasn't unfamiliar with the names, that's for sure. But when we had media day going into it, like. I was like, I'm pretty nervous right now.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, like we got Gav going first day, and then we got Carson going the second day. And then it's just like, if we can just win one, we got to get to game 3. If we get to game 3, I think we'll just throw Cam and Bridgie and they'll throw 9 because their arms, their arms seem to just never die.
Rubber.
Rubber arms. But
see, Ethan, now you know where I got it from.
Yeah. I need to pick up that skill.
Going that weekend was, I mean, there's a lot of hype, and we wanted to be the team to take them down and punch the ticket. And I mean, looking back at it, those are 2 great college baseball games that were neck and neck. And but yeah, like if we're being honest, like I wanted to throw up when I saw that we were matched up with Vanderbilt. Like we were watching or whatever in the selection show, and I was just like, I think I almost had to go to the bathroom. I was like, I need some air because I knew what they had.
Yeah. We all did, but it's so funny thinking about it because I remember vividly the clip because like we are ahead of, or the TV's ahead of us. So when we pop up there and we're matched up with Vandy, normally when people get in the tournament, they're like, let's go, like we're hosting. And we saw it and we're like, oh no, like we got to face those guys. That's like the worst draw you could possibly get. But
it felt like it, especially after my freshman year getting matched up with Louisville, and you had
it's the same thing.
Bob Miller and Reed Detmer.
Yeah.
So we're going to facing the 2 of the best, probably the best duo since Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer. Like this is going to be interesting, and but to our credit, like
We gave him
what I
a
what I
run.
don't what I don't think I give us enough credit was how good we were, and we were right there that whole weekend. And but yeah, I was once you get into the game, all my nerves went away, and but my adrenaline was to the roof for
As
those
it
two.
should be. And if people remember watching that game, Ethan, were you there?
I was not there. I think I was playing.
Yeah, go figure. But if you remember, Connor, like the way it was set up. So if you've ever been to Vanderbilt, they have obviously the Whistler, who is the most annoying dude on the planet. They also have the football field behind their side of the bleachers, way up. They also had 8 JBL speakers at the end of each dugout pointed towards the field playing music. You remember that?
Yeah,
They
that's
had it so that is the loudest stadium, including football, that I have ever been in because it's turf, it's hot. There are like 4,000 people there, and the music is like ear like blow. It was unbelievable. It was one of the craziest environments I've ever been in. I mean, obviously they knew how to set the tone, but it
yeah.
was like it was just unbelievable. But
They were you felt so enclosed
yeah,
with the stadium right there. And I remember we had a huge pirate section
mm-hmm.
in the stands, and then you look out in the outfield and they have all those bleachers that were filled, and then across the street there's like parking
Oh
decks,
yeah, there are
and
people on top of the parking
yeah,
decks.
people were on top of the parking decks watching, and it was crazy.
This is college baseball, but obviously we don't get the job done. We lose to those guys, and you move on to the summer, and you end up getting drafted to the Orioles in the second round. What was obviously that entire experience was tremendous for you and your family, but what specifically for you was it like getting the call, the emotions with it? What was that whole experience like?
It's first of all, it's a dream come true. It's what every little kid dreams of when they pick up a ball. But it going into it, like yeah, I didn't know what to expect. And then I think after day one, because I got a call and everything gets amplified at that point. Like you're like, this is real, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't work out or whatever. And it's just you get ready for day two and you're talking to your agent. He's just like, I got no clue, and I'm like, well, here we go. It's starting in 10 minutes, and it was like right after it started, I got a phone call, and I think it was Arizona at the time. They were like the sixth pick, I think, that day, and we. I said like okay, and then I literally put my phone down, and right as I put it down, I got another phone call, and he's like, just kidding, Baltimore right now. So and then so I had a bunch of family and friends over, and then we get drafted, and it's just craziness, and it's awesome, and yeah, it's a day you don't forget.
Yeah, no doubt. And I can only imagine, Ethan. I hope you experienced that same feeling one day too. But what was the conversation with Coach Godwin like? And on top of that, Ethan, I want you to answer this too. What has your relationship with Coach Godwin been like and grown with? Because I'm interested, and I think everybody else is, to hear everybody's perspective on it because everybody has a different story with him. Obviously, he's a tremendous leader, tremendous coach, great person, but everybody has their own path and relationship with him, and it's developed. It's had its peaks and valleys, but I think with you two specifically, obviously being brothers, but Connor, with your journey, obviously very amplified, very talked about, I guess, by him and you. But Ethan too, even being young through recruitment, what has your both of your guys' relationships been with him throughout the time, and obviously now, both being in the pros and being on his team?
I mean, from where we were to today, like I consider him like a second dad, and I give him a lot of crap, and we can joke around about all the stuff that happened while I was at school or what we might have gone through together, and what Ethan goes through. But I mean, you can't ever question that guy. Like he cares, and he only wants what's best for you, and he's going to give it to you straight all the time, and he's going to push you to your limits and probably even beyond. But he bleeds purple, and he cares about every single guy that walks through that door, and he would give him the shirt off his back if it came down to it. But yeah, he still texts me all the time, and I'll send him videos of swings and stuff like that, and we'll talk. But yeah, he's definitely a role model for me.
Ethan, obviously it's a little bit different for you because you're still in it, and obviously you're still on his team, and you have a great relationship with him. But what is your take on that?
Yeah, we definitely have a very different relationship. He likes to tell me all the time that he feels bad that we don't talk as much because him and Connor would have his weekly meetings with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I hope I don't ever get to that point. But he's definitely like a father figure to me. I mean, he's always just talking, just trying to get to know me better. And I think like when we went out to dinner a lot this summer, watching him play in Baltimore and in Miami and stuff, and that was definitely a good part of like us getting to know each other better. Because as a freshman, I mean, you're kind of like, I mean, I guess a nobody. Like you don't really, you just don't have a voice on the team really, and you're just kind of there. But he really makes like you feel at home, I guess, and he really tried to get to know me throughout the whole year. But now it's, I don't know, I guess it's like that just typical banter, like, oh, your brother's posting something stupid on social media again, or how the Vikings doing. I don't know. Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's normally the way it goes, and that is constantly. Even when I walk into the field with you last year, it was like, "Hey, did you see what Connor put on Twitter?" And it's like, "Yes, coach, I know. Again, I did. What do you want from me? I don't know what you want me to say." Like, but obviously, let's get away from Big Brother talk. Let's get to your story a little bit. With you, obviously being known as Connor's little brother throughout a lot of your childhood, and especially in high school stuff, just because he was such a good player. What was your recruiting like, especially going to obviously East Forsyth, being a pitcher, not being a hitter, and at least going forward with your career? What was your recruiting process like?
He's still trying to get Cliff to let him hit.
No, I'm not.
Trust me, I tried when I was coming out of high school, and Coach Brown was like, "Yeah, we'll see," and I got there, and I was like, "Thank God."
Yeah, you, Sailor.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I will say that
Gavin,
Coach P and Coach G both told me I had a good swing.
Stick to what you're good at, dude. Shut up.
But definitely very different recruiting process for sure. I was a late recruit. I believe that was the last scholarship player in my class. I was hurt my freshman and sophomore year, and then after I got a little bit of interest early in my junior year, but it wasn't really to the summer of after my junior year where everything really picked up. Through at the USA Championship, whatever it's called, and that's when AK called me, and that's really when things started to really pick up. And then I believe it was AK watched me, called me, watched me one more time. Coach P watched me pitch. Probably one of the best game of my life, honestly.
That's when you perform the best. It's always so weird how that works.
And then 2 days later, I was on a visit to ECU. And then 20 minutes after my meeting with Coach Godwin, I'm committing because he's a good salesman,
He does a damn good job with that, dude. He really does.
He does.
Yeah.
When you go on a visit, you're coming. That's usually the way it goes.
And they always know. Like, I've talked to AK a couple times, and like, can you tell with like guys if they're gonna commit? He's like, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, he says that, and Coach G knew right away that I was coming. No matter what.
That's interesting because I've never heard him. I've never really asked the question in general of like, is it something that you pick up on right away where it's like, yeah, like I can tell right when the way their parents are talking, the body language, all that stuff, if they're coming or not. But it's
a little bit of both.
Yeah, I guess I figured, but obviously
he called me at McAllister's 15 minutes after he left Coach Godwin's office, and
thinking about
he's like, I'm gonna commit. And I'm like, dude, you just got out of there. Like, give it some time. Like, think about it. And he's like, okay. And then like 10 minutes later, he calls me back. He said, I just committed. And I'm like, wow, you really thought long
you told me
once
I know, and I knew.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Well. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, I did the same thing. I committed in his office. I didn't even wait. Actually, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing.
Mom,
right on spot.
I knew my mom would have been a little upset if I committed in the office. Think about it.
Yeah, it was the same thing. You got to think about it. Okay, I'm ready. Here we go. Yeah, it's one of those.
Let's go.
This episode is also brought to you by Jay Bastardo with Via Verde, Harvey's Breakfast Place, and of course his new restaurant, Bella Green. Jay is a great human, dude. He's got an awesome story. Obviously has started all these restaurants here in Greenville with his new Dominican sports bar, Bella Green, obviously Harvey's Breakfast Place, and 2 Via Verde restaurants. But Jay, I really appreciate you supporting the show. Obviously supported ECU Athletics, specifically ECU Baseball, but really appreciate you supporting the show and everything that's about. But thanks, Jay. Obviously, you came in as a freshman and had the name on your back, so you obviously had super big expectations right away. But as a freshman, at least last year, coming off the first time we haven't hosted a regional in what, 6 years, close to it, 4, 5, 6 years. It had been a while, so there was obviously some work to be done. But what was it like? At least I'm assuming you leaned on Connor a little bit to just kind of get acclimated right away. Of like, all right, who do I know? How do I get, right into it right away? How do I make a good first impression? What are the things I need to look for? That kind of thing. How much did you lean on, I guess, the older guys and Connor specifically for that kind of acclimation right away to the part of being Pirate as a freshman?
I would say probably the biggest thing was just being the little brother that watched rather than like did something stupid. So I always watched what he did and did the opposite. And, I learned about the way we do things. But, obviously I had a big chip on my shoulder, but I definitely relied on you a lot last year, you and Trey for sure. But just watching you guys go to work every day, I knew like I didn't have to be, just a Friday night starter. We had that. We had you at bullpen. We had Shank. Like we had all these guys, and I was like, I don't need to be anything crazy. I just need to go out there and compete. And I know that's what they look for. So I was just kind of what I did.
It's funny that you say that because I obviously I don't think we had ever really like had a conversation or talked a ton before you got to school. At least we obviously knew who each other were just because of the names and where we grew up and stuff. But I had only ever known Connor one because I played with him, played against him in high school. But it was very interesting to see you and the way you carried yourself. And Connor kind of mentioned it with how like mature you were. Like I was very taken back of just like how open you were to learn, how much you were ready to just like get after it, like how hard you worked. Because as a freshman, you come in and you're normally, you even saw it last year. Some guys are just like, yeah, I don't need to do this stuff, dude. I got it made. I don't need to work hard. I'll be the best without having to do anything. And they get weeded out pretty quick. And it was very refreshing to see someone that obviously I knew that I obviously had a lot of appreciation for as time went on, that you were so young and had so much, motivation and admiration to get better right away.
It's definitely, sadly, it goes back to him, just watching him go today. But, I developed a pretty good work ethic in high school, and I think that really carried into my college experience. And I knew that, there's a lot of demands as an ECU baseball player, and I knew I had to work really hard. So, that was just the biggest thing, just getting to work because I knew I needed to get to work.
After the fall, what were your expectations for yourself going into the season? Obviously, it was a big season within itself. We had a lot of pitching opportunities and options, but what were your expectations for yourself as a freshman, being like, all right, let's strap it on, let's see what happens?
I wanted to be a weekend starter.
Everybody does.
Spot was, a little wishy-washy. Obviously, you had Trey and Zach, but probably a little big for my britches at the time. But, I feel
at least you can admit it now.
Yeah, no, I had a successful fall outside of like 2 appearances.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I could compete just after we played against, Clemson. I was like, all right, those are legit guys. Like, I know I can play at this level. But, I knew if I wasn't going to start on the weekend, like I was going to come out of the bullpen. And that happened right away. First game of the season. I'm glad I got that one done. Remember how nervous I was? Still gave up that bomb.
You were actually a train wreck. Well, yeah, you were a home run magnet, but that's all right. We all have been at one point.
I think we tied. No, you beat me.
I'm glad that you can call him out on that because I called him out on it every day.
Yeah, he probably gets defensive. I go figure. But
last game of the season,
so I just stopped.
Yeah. Good.
Everybody comes in, you want to be the starting guy, whatever. But for me, I wanted him to be like a CJ Mayhew-esque.
Yes, dude.
a guy that can come in pretty much 2-3 times a week and get you out of a jam, pitch, go in long relief, whatever it may be. Because I know how we know how valuable CJ Mayhew was for us.
Gosh, dude.
And I wanted him to get a bunch of innings, and I thought with obviously Trey, Zach, those guys were pretty. Jake Hunter,
Jake.
Those guys were pretty much solidified at that point. So I was like, I want you. Like, I'd rather you be in the pen and be the first lefty out than have to scratch and claw for maybe a spot start.
Sure, and selfishly, probably, obviously, you're like, no, I need to be a starter, but I think you took on like the role of like, I don't even really care what I do. I just want to help the team win and just win a game. And obviously, it's been very, very well documented as the season went on. You pitched a lot more, whether it was because of injuries or just the fact that you were just pitching really, really well, dude. Like, what was it like towards the end, being 18, 19 years old in those big moments, and the moments where essentially we didn't really have another choice? We needed you to throw well because whether it was Shank was not himself, Root was injured, we had other guys step up, was hobbling out there, like whatever it was, we needed you to pitch well. So what was it like in those big moments where it's like, hey, Ethan, we know you're 12 years old, but we need you to step up here and throw this?
I mean, definitely the turning point. I mean, obviously I started out rough. Like, I mean, it was fine. And then like Carolina, I think was my last appearance. And then I remember we went to Liberty.
Pitch for a while.
Yeah, no, I was in timeout. Yeah, for sure. We went to Liberty. I didn't pitch. Didn't go to the bullpen. I was like, and it was cold.
You weren't even looked at.
No, it wasn't even. Nope.
Not a thought.
But I was like, this sucks. Like, I do not want to sit on the bench anymore. And so I threw in 2 pitcher hitters.
You did. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of timeout. You know, it's fine. And then it was, I think, my first start or outing after that was UTSA. Came in after Trey, threw 3 scoreless, and I think after that just propelled like my confidence. Just the build up was a lot, and it just really propelled me into the later half. But like you said, like especially in those last 2 weeks, I was like, all right, well, Trey went out. I was like, all right, well, here we go, buckle up, because you're gonna have to. I mean, I did some U activities those last 2 weeks. I threw, I think, 18 innings in 2 weeks. I was like, welcome to college baseball.
Yeah, turn your brain off and figure it out. Pretty much is what that was, for sure. I mean, it was, especially with, obviously, I don't know how you forget, but the Trey thing lapsed my mind. Where you threw, gosh, I don't even want to, like, you threw pretty much every game last series of pretty much Rice in the regular season on. I mean, it was conference tournament right into the regional, and we played as many games as you possibly could in the regional. So yeah, it was, and if it knock you down a couple of notches, we were all very surprised you pitched that well at UTSA. We were like, okay, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I know, and I think that was like a big thing. Like, nobody expected anything, so it was like, all right, here we go, just go after it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I guess going back to Connor a little bit, your journey post draft was, I mean, you killed it in the minors. It didn't maybe not have was always great, but you, through your journey, you were always knocking on the door, it seemed like. Ever since you got picked up, it was just like, dude, and we would talk about it at the field all the time, even before Ethan got there, like, how is he not up yet, dude? Like, he is literally hitting, it feels like he's hitting a home run every night. He's hitting 300. Like, how is he not up? And obviously, the organization was super talented, and the roster at the major league level was huge. But what kind of toll did it take on your mental stability of just like, how much more can I do, dude? Like what else do I need to do to get pulled up? Because I'm sure at least human nature, that creeps in your mind at least once during that time. But what was that like on your mental state?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like,
yeah,
we were winning. We were in the playoffs, and
didn't you win the AAA championship that year, right?
AAA national championship. So it was just like, well, I mean, we're stacked everywhere. So it's like I couldn't be like, you can get frustrated, but like for me, it was always just, there's always more work to be done, and that's just how I'm wired and how I think I'll always be. But yeah, definitely, especially this year, my second year in big league camp, like, I'm familiar with it. The second base is technically open, if you want to say, like, I have a chance. And then you get sent back down, you get option, whatever, and then you start off in AAA and you're just tearing the cover off the ball, and then I hit a slump for like a month. It was like my worst slump I think I've had since like A ball, and I can't figure it out. And then I started picking it up, and then that's when I got the call finally. And it's like at the time that I got the call, it was kind of like breath of fresh air, like finally, like you know what I'm saying, like monkey
And
off
it
your shoulder.
sucks that that's the way it is, because that should be like a moment of like, yes, like excitement, your whole family, you. But I feel like at that point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like at that point it was more just like relief, like it's about damn time.
It felt like that, yeah. And I don't want to sound like ungrateful or anything
No,
because
of course not.
it's, but I felt like I was ready in a
Sure.
way, at least to have a chance. And but God, God's work is we're not to question it and His timing, and I think it's obviously when it was supposed to happen. That's when it was going to happen. But yeah, like selfishly, like I wanted to be up there. I wanted to help them win games, and they started to struggle a little bit at that point. So I was like, I feel like I can help a little bit, but also like I had guys to help keep me grounded and like keep me on the day to day and be where your feet were, if you want to use that reference, in AAA. And I had a bunch of guys there that we were all in the same boat, and it was just like, well, we can't worry about that. We just got to focus on where we're at right now and focus on today. And then, yeah.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, getting that call was, I can only imagine the jubilation and actually being up there and playing. But you got up there. You had your first career hit. You had all these great moments up there. But you mentioned your faith, obviously, but especially around the trade deadline. Ethan, our season had already ended, so you were kind of locked in, I'm assuming, on like basically just watching and following Connor the rest of the year, seeing how he was doing, getting a chance to see him play whenever you could. But around the trade deadline, like what were your thoughts? And Ethan, you can answer this too, because I'm sure you probably had your own distinct, like, this is what I want to happen, this is what I think should happen. But like Connor, specifically for you, like, dude, like, was your faith tested? Like, what was that like process like of like, I'm doing everything I can. Like I've grinded all through the minors to get to this point. I finally get here. Now they want to get rid of me. Like what was, I guess, prayer like, if there was any? What was your thought process like? What did you want to happen? All that good stuff.
So going back to when I got the first call, you guys were in the regional, and
It was right after I pitched.
I was watching it on TV, and I'm sitting on my couch at the apartment, and we're leaving for wherever. Then I think we were going to like Hudson. No, we were going to Scranton or something like that the next day. So
Oh boy.
I had to do laundry and pack. So I was doing that, and I was watching you guys play, and Ethan's pitching, and obviously I'm kind of like my dad. I pace around the apartment. Like we had your guys' games up on the scoreboards for batting practice and everything.
Oh, that's sick.
So I'm still as invested as I was as a player in ECU, but it was right after he got off the mound and did his little like thing.
His little squat punch right here. Yeah.
I had to get the crowd fired up.
Sure. Yeah, the whole thing.
So then I got a call, and I'm like, no way right now.
Yeah, come on.
They tell me, and I'm like, I called my dad, and he's in the stands, like in the middle of the stands, and my mom, and they're like, right now? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God, what do we do? And I'm like, you guys need to stay there and be like, I'm going to Toronto. Like, I don't even know if I'm playing. Like, I'm not getting active. I just have to be there.
Another country, yeah.
I was like, you guys need to be there for Ethan, because if he wins, like you need to be there for that, and we'll have hopefully plenty more of these games of mine to go to. But he needs you guys there for a regional championship.
Absolutely.
But yeah, fast forwarding to the deadline. Yeah, like I played the night before. It was we played a doubleheader the next day. Like I'm playing again that night, and I'm like, I text my agent, and because at that point, my name had been thrown out a bunch over the last couple of years. So I text my agent, and I'm like, you hear anything? And I'm not thinking anything of it because I'm in the lineup that night. Like I'm up there playing more, and I'm like, there's no way they move me, especially with some of the injuries we had going on. And he's like, he texted me back. He's like, no, I haven't heard anything. So it's weird. And then like not even 5 minutes later, I'm getting a FaceTime from Elias, and I'm just like, it's weird why he's FaceTiming me right now. And I answer, and he's like, I think you know what this is about. And I'm like, no, am I getting
News to
off?
me.
Yeah. And he's like, we just traded you. And so then I got off the phone and talked to the Miami GM, and I kind of just put my phone down, or I called everybody quick, like called my parents, called my agents, and then it was just like I put my phone down. And I was just like, wow, like it kind of hit me at that point, and
Yeah.
then, but then I went to the field quick, got all my stuff, said my goodbyes, and then like that night, yeah, like that was when it really hit me like home. That I was like, wow, like I got to start over essentially, or that's what it felt like to me.
No, absolutely.
And, but yeah, you put your faith in the Lord, and at that point, like I didn't know what was going to happen. It's scary, and but at the end of the day, like I knew it was a better opportunity for me when it was said and done with. Like I knew it was going to be a better fit, and looking at it now, obviously, it's easier to say, but at the time, for sure, you're tested.
Hope you guys are enjoying the episode so far. This episode's also brought to you by the 23 Club. Mike Harrington has been gracious enough to help out all of his sponsors as well to sponsor the program, obviously. It's been a great opportunity to be able to work with him. 23 Club is a big NIL initiative that is part of Team Boneyard, but an opportunity to give specifically to the baseball program. He does a great job with obviously getting the brand out there. Be on the lookout for a bunch of get-togethers and meetings, obviously in the spring as the season kicks off. But a great opportunity to give NIL money straight to the players, obviously with Team Boneyard, so you can do both. But thank you, Mike Harrington. Thank you, 23 Club, for sponsoring the show, and I appreciate you guys. Yeah, and he works in mysterious ways, and you don't understand it at the time, but now you do, kind of thing. But for sure, and I didn't mean to skip by the call story because that is one of the coolest stories you can that you couldn't draw it up better of him literally walking off the mountain and being like, "You're getting called up right now, seriously." But so that is a very cool story, and I'm sure Ethan, you were super. I remember we were leaving the game, and you had like a meeting with your mom and obviously your dad and Coach office, and I looked at Blake and I'm like, "It happened, didn't it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Let's go, finally."
Well,
It's about
before
damn
that,
time.
we went to do media, and Coach G says in the media interview, I just wish somebody would give him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets the call, and it's like, I'm back in the showers, and Blake comes and gets me. He's like, "Hey, Coach G wants to talk to you." I was like, "Oh crap, what did I do?"
It's like, did I say something?
Did
Yeah.
I say anything? Like,
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? And then he's like, "No, just put some clothes on and just come on out here." And
Some clothes on, yeah.
I see my parents in the lobby. I was like, all right, what's going on?
Yeah,
Did I just get kicked off the team for
Yeah.
something? But then I walk in and I see AK, and he's like a little bit teary eyed, and I'm like, all right, something's else happening. And then I see he was on the phone, and I was like, no way. And then I remember just like it didn't really hit me because like I just got.
He had to
done
call
with
me
the
back
pain.
that night, and he's like, "What did you say?"
Yeah, no.
All right, wait. So did I hear you right?
Yeah.
It was right after a game. Like you're not in that like
No, for sure not.
It just like you're still adrenaline's pumping from the game, and you're just like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Trust me, because it was even shocking for us. Like the small group of guys that were still there that played with you, like me, Cam, Shaq, Star. Like we were all just like, dude, can it just like happen already? Like this is ridiculous. Like we would have daily talks with Coach Godwin and Coach Plum being like, "You heard anything? You heard?" Like it was like almost getting frustrating. And then it was just a weight lifted off, obviously your shoulders and your family's shoulders, but ours too, just because we obviously have so much love for you. But I guess moving into this season for the both of you, what is each of your obviously respective goals for your personal careers, but obviously your team as well? Connor, you're starting brand new, like you said, with a whole new staff, relatively new organization. You only played a couple months last year with them, and Ethan obviously stepping into a huge role with being the big man on campus, essentially, with the name that everybody recognizes, and you've pitched in some big games and had success. But what is kind of your both goals, expectations for yourself, for yourself and for your team?
I mean, I haven't thought about it too much right now. Like I'm looking forward to the season.
Yeah,
for
probably
sure.
better that way.
I enjoy the off season too much just because I you know how long season, like it's 8 months every day, like especially as a position player, like I mean really anybody, it's a
Grind,
long,
dude.
yeah. And but like when I look at it, it's like yeah, like I'm super excited. But for me, like there's like I said before, there's always more work to be done, and that's just how I am. And that's why I don't take much time off. There's always things I want to do, and I want to be an all-star. I want to be one of the elite players in this game, and I'm gonna work my tail off until I get there. And I'm excited for what's to come for us as a team and for myself. But hopefully, more wins this year. That's the goal. We want a lot more wins and get back to the postseason like we were 2 years ago. But yeah, it's gonna be nice having a year where I know kind of like, okay, this is where I'm coming in. Obviously, like got to play well throughout.
Yeah, no doubt.
It gives you a little bit more fresh breath of fresh air and like a little bit of weight lifted off, like we've talked about. Coming in like, okay, like I'm here, but I need to take that another step, and
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to be working to do.
You, JC, and Clayton got to go win the East.
Yeah, pretty
exactly.
much.
Ethan, what do you got?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm gonna be the closer this year, probably. Like
Yeah, you are.
Stopper or something, you know. Pull a little Danny Beal, I guess.
Okay, relax.
But it was.
Settle
I
down.
mean, obviously coming in, I wanted to be a starter. Like you know, I knew that we had a whole new staff coming in, so I was like, all right, well, the Friday job's open, so why not go for it? And then it wasn't until like you know halfway through the fall, I'm like, all right, well, realistically, I'm the guy with coming back with the most innings, and I pitched in a lot of big games, so it kind of started to dawn on me like I can you know come out of the pen, pitch more in bigger spots and stuff. And I remember after the Purple Gold, Coach G came up to me and was like, "Would you be willing to come out of the bullpen?" I was like, "Yes, sir, I would." I mean, it was kind of just automatic. You know, obviously when he says it's a little bit more real, but the thoughts had already started. But I knew, you know, we got a lot of really talented guys that are in the staff, and I think we're going to have a really, really strong pitching staff this year.
I agree.
But going into it, I just try to, you know, emulate some of the past Pirate closers, setup guys. You know, Shankman, Bridgie, Colmore, the throwbacks,
Sam Lanier, Volvo,
all those
Mayhew.
guys.
Mayhew.
But I mean, I just want to, you know, go win games. You know, break down that door. That would be the biggest thing.
I'm glad you said that at the end because that should be the first goal.
That
Break
is
down
round one, pick one of most important thing, obviously, but can't
We don't-
get to
we
Omaha
don't-
without winning
don't
game one.
I don't care about how it looks. Just get that thing done.
It doesn't have to be pretty. I promise. At this rate, it could be the ugliest thing ever. As long as we get there, right?
It's funny. I don't even think we even care too much about. I mean, we're fortunate, but conference championships and all that stuff, they're cool, but no one gets fired up for those anymore because
It's on the pyramid, but that's not the main goal.
There's only one goal that I think everybody wants, and I mean, I've seen y'all. Like, y'all look pretty good, and I follow, and I obviously keep up because I have to because he's there, and Cliff gives me the rundowns all the time, and
I bet.
Feel like his therapist sometimes about some guys.
Jeez, I can only imagine.
I'm sure he goes to you as well.
There's groups of us sometimes where we're like, dude, not only do I not envy your job, but I cannot imagine dealing with the stuff that you're dealing with. Like, it's crazy. So
especially not in today's college.
Oh my goodness, no. And that is the last thing he likes or needs in his life right now. But a couple more questions. What were you about to say? Sorry.
Engaged.
Yeah.
He did get engaged. Yes, we're gonna have him on in a couple weeks, and we're gonna obviously dive into all the stuff we've talked about with all the guests. But yes, very, very cool news for him getting engaged, and happy for him and Bree, and obviously a very cool moment for him. And I don't think a lot of us would have expected that to happen a couple years ago, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, a very, very pumped for him and his new fiance.
I remember when he told me, he was like, he said it so casually. I asked him, you know, I was going to a wedding, and he was just like, yeah, I think that weekend I'm going to go ask Bree's parents if I can marry her. And I'm just like,
Huh?
Wait, what?
Wait,
I
was
was
it
like,
that?
he was looking down at his phone, like just said it so casually. I'm just like, that's like really big.
Yeah.
You just said it like it was nothing. I don't know.
He only gets fired up for baseball games, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. As long as the
Yes.
Pirates win, that's the only time he gets happy. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
He was very nonchalant about it because I think his heart was set and he knew his faith was in the right place and his love was in the right place. So I guess, hey, if you know, you know. So, but anyway, a couple last questions for you guys before we get you out of here. It's which one? It's hey, if it pops in your head, say it. If not, but what each of you guys, what's your favorite ECU baseball memory? The first one that comes to mind where it's like that's the one that I like that one. That was something that I love to experience.
I mean, I think obviously, I mean, I didn't even play in it, but watching the Wake Forest game was possibly the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, I mean, I thought, you know, I had a locker next to Trey. Me and him were roommates on the road, so I got to see him through, you know, the whole year. And obviously, we were roommates in Clearwater when everything happened, and watching him come back and just like be a freaking dog. I was like, all right, this is the dude, and he is a dude, and
He is who he says he is.
absolutely shove against one of the best teams in the country was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Connor, what about you?
That Charlotte game in the regional.
Yeah.
Gavin, that was the first game all year that Gavin got hit a little bit, and Bryson making that unreal catch to rob the homer.
Hoover's little dink and dunk hit.
I mean, Hoover's that because I remember going into that weekend, we still had the COVID restrictions, and then they lifted them all right before the regional.
It's
And
the first time all year that our stadium had been packed.
And I told Star because he was a freshman at the time, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna. It's the same thing that Turner told Ryder told me, like, dude, like you're gonna see something this weekend that you've never seen, and it's going to be absolutely crazy. And game one had to fight against Norfolk State, and then that Charlotte game was absolutely nuts. We were down 5-2, I think, in 6-2 late, and big walks by Seth, I think, stump, and then Poove getting the base hit, and then Bryson
down the line. Oh yeah. With a bum shoulder, might add.
Yeah, after the tournament, he was he was with Kevin a lot.
Practically should have been roommates.
But yeah, that game was crazy. And when we won that game, I was like, Maryland stands no chance.
No, dude. We're sweeping and then we're partying all night. There's no way that they're even going to come close to what. Yeah, no, not a chance.
Yeah.
What was your guys' favorite pregame meal or postgame meal? Now that I think about it.
I didn't eat. I don't like eating.
I don't like eating pregame, but postgame definitely like a Villa Verde or La Ranch.
So good. Shout out Jay Bastardo. He's one of the sponsors for this episode. Villa Verde's owner.
If I have to choose, I'll go Chick-fil-A breakfast.
Chick-fil-A breakfast is good. Yeah, that you can't miss the Chick-fil-A. It's so good. No, it's so good. At least you can, I guess, Connor, you can say it for your time at ECU and now if you want. But who has your number and whose number do you have? I asked Gavin this, and Gavin I think he said Soto was the guy that had his number, but he's like, I'm not telling you whose number I have because I'm going to jinx it, and the next time I face him, he's going to hit. So you can take that question however far you want, but at least who's got your number?
Probably Snell. Yeah.
Snell. Yeah. That's not a fun at bat.
No, it wasn't. Freed's tough too. I mean,
so it seems like a lefty trend.
Yeah, I think he needs to start throwing at me some more, I guess.
Yeah.
But those two, for sure. I mean, I can go on about all the guys that I face that are gross, but.
Yeah. Ethan?
Going back to last year, I'd say Star was definitely had my number. I hit him all the time.
He had everybody's number.
Yeah. Then this year, I don't know if you remember Alex Boucher.
Sure do. Good ball player. Be on the lookout for him in the spring. Took
me deep last year at ODU, then took me deep this fall.
Yeah.
actually, as my Secret Santa gift, I got a card that said "Daddy" on it.
There
So
you go. There's
his stats off me. He's hitting 1,000 with like 6 ribbies. I'm like, gosh.
yeah, it's not bad. That's funny. That there were always so many great gifts that came out of Secret Santa, but
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Connor, you remember yours last year?
I think it was a poster, wasn't it?
Yeah, we don't have to say what the poster was, but it was a good gift.
Yeah, I think it was a poster of pretty much me, and
Yeah.
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 Well,
you and your excitement, let's put it that way. Yeah, excitement.
Those gifts were crazy. We did it in a church too.
We did do it in a church. Well, that also made it tough to kind of get as dirty as we wanted to. As college athletes and college baseball players, you know where our minds go. So it was one of those things where it's like, all right, we probably should tone it down a little bit if we're going to do this in a church.
Yeah,
I was surprised this year not getting another Connor Norby, Ethan Norby shirt.
Yeah,
Like
maybe you've grown out of that. We'll see. Well, maybe we'll put in a word for it next year.
Did you already do it?
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
What last one and then we'll get you out of here. What was your if one that you can tell, let me put it that way. What was your favorite non-baseball memory while at least while you've been in school, Ethan, and then when you were in school, Connor? Try to keep it PG.
Oh man. This is tough.
I know, and I put you on the spot.
You do pretty much everything with the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I'll just say like
For example, I'll let me give you more time to think. One of my favorite ones, and
it ain't class.
Say what?
It's not class for me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it never was. But it was. We were in Clearwater. This was 2022, so the year we swept the conference tournament. Neither of you guys were here, but Ben Terwilliger was this big, heavy-set right-hander. But he was a transfer, a Division II transfer, and he was an odd cat for sure. And him and Landon Ginn were on this Bengay train, which is like essentially like a extended version of Icy Hot. And one day we were in Clearwater. It's 100 billion degrees, and Wyatt Shankman is shirtless, hands on a wall, like he's getting like an inspection from a cop. And Ben Terwilliger has like a doctor glove on. And it was just lathering his entire back and shoulder in Bengay. And we took a picture of it because we were like, that's gold. That is so funny.
Yeah.
And NCAA Baseball posted it. No Context College Baseball posted it. And all these other Twitter accounts posted it being like, ECU's having a good time in Clearwater. And it's just two shirtless guys. And we'll see if we can put this on the podcast on YouTube. But it's literally just two shirtless guys rubbing each other up with some Bengay. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, this is college baseball. What are we doing, dude?
Sounds like Shankman.
Yeah, no. We'll see if we can get the picture up, but it is very, very funny.
I think that goes on in every clubhouse.
Literally, you just don't see it.
No.
Well,
I would say, just thinking about mine. I mean, I think after we lost the regional, I know how down we were, but I thought that was just a really special last two raw that we had.
Yeah, no, that was fun.
I know there's a lot of emotions, and a lot of people watch the sun come up. Just we had a lot of deep conversations with each other.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
Just water, right?
Yeah, just water.
Yeah, it was just water.
Just a very special night. Just having that last night with you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was obviously super emotional. It is when every season ends, but that group is so special, and being able to do it together was even more special. But Connor, what about for you?
I mean, I think just like the stuff you do off the field with the guys, you're like I said, you're always around each other, and I would say just after practice, like me and Ryder and Sailor, like we cook steaks like every night and watch a movie. Like that was just our routine, and we would do that every day. So I think that was just like a moment, I guess, like you would say. Was
you
my
remember?
favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I remember even when I was a freshman, because obviously Sailor and I were super close when I was a freshman, and even if he did bully me, it didn't matter. I always just wanted to hang out because it was somebody I knew, but I would always go over to his house with you guys, and the lights were constantly off no matter what time of the day, and there was always a movie on. It didn't matter what time, like nobody could even be there. The lights were off and there was a movie on. It didn't matter. So you're spot on with that, and I vividly remember that, even though I didn't even live there, which is crazy to think about.
Just everything you do with the team was fun. I mean, from all the quote unquote get-togethers that we would have,
Right.
like you can't beat those, especially after big games or winning regionals or even losing. Like
recruiting visits.
Yeah.
When the new freshman would come in, I was around for that class before I had to leave, and seeing all those guys. So it's just like all those moments they're fun, and because you're the only people that on campus they understand what this means to a lot of people, and how much effort gets put into it.
No doubt.
Don't ever forget, the late nights in the dorms, just the random Tuesday night and things just pop off.
Those are the best. Just random, somebody comes in your room, then somebody else does. And next thing you know, it's just a loud house for no reason. For no reason. It's a random. You're absolutely right.
The study room or something.
It's the best. It's the absolute best. You live for those nights just to piss one of your teammates off.
Chase each other around with belts.
Sure. You tie someone's door shut. It's the best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we're the worst. Absolutely. 100%. But I appreciate you guys taking the time. Obviously, you're the second set of brothers, but arguably the better set of brothers, depending on who you are and the way you look at it. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Obviously, it's always great to catch up with you. I see Ethan a lot, but Connor, I haven't obviously gotten to see you as much lately, but it's always great to catch up and see you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on. And shout out to the Agnos brothers. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
All right.